Alright, welcome everyone to my first Ramble video that I'm going to be putting out. My name is Loug, or Loug as some of you might know. My real name is Logan, and yeah, I've been looking into doing one of these for a while now, but I've never really actually sat down and done it, so I guess now is a better time than any, so I guess I'm just going to start into a little bit of an intro here. Just talk briefly about myself, some of the people that motivated me to do this and continue to motivate me while playing RuneScape. And then I'll move on and talk a little bit about my goals and how things are looking in the future, and a couple of the updates that are going to be coming out sometime in the near future. So, alrighty, let's dive into it. So. Basically, I kind of got the motivation to do one of these ramble videos from recently getting a little bit into watching other people's ramble videos. A couple people I've watched recently have been, I watched AJ's ramble video. He recently got 200 mil fishing. Very impressive achievement, of course. So that was probably the most recent ramble I've watched. But I'd say some of the most frequent and notable people that most of you will know as well include Lelador. Obviously, I think he was pretty much the first person, at least Ironman, to start doing these ramble videos, which is kind of a staple almost now for some in the Ironman community, I guess. One of the people that I look at now, and as he continues to make his own videos, is Iron Batty. He is an erudite, which is a clan I'll speak a little bit more about later on in this ramble. But one of the reasons that I look up to Batty, and he's inspired me a lot, is basically just the way, how well he speaks, essentially. He's such a good speaker if you get him on a topic. Been watching some of his streams lately, and you can kind of just throw him a topic and he'll go off on it. And just in terms of his critical thinking, he can he's really able to kind of pull apart a topic and actually bring some sense into whatever it is. So another person that I've kind of been looking up to recently as well is Solo Parker. He changed his name to Glad RS recently. You guys might know him from Twitter, or he also was formerly an erudite leader. And the reason I was inspired by him was because I can kind of relate to him a little bit. The relatability aspect is huge for Parker when it comes to me, just because we kind of came from like the same place. I remember in his first Ramble video, his introduction, he spoke a little bit about people, well, himself particularly, just kind of starting from a very humble place in terms of playing RuneScape, and playing it very, very casually, and kind of almost picking it up from there and becoming more competitive, like I feel like I've done over the last little while, which is kind of cool. And I'll talk a little bit more about my the way that I've played the game and how it's changed too. So the last player that has really inspired me over the last couple of years is Sim. Sim, or Symbios, is one of my best friends on the game, and I've known him for a couple of years now, ever since he joined me in leading the Solo Hambios CC, which I led by myself for many, probably about 2 to 3 years, and then Symbios not recently, but I invited him to join me as well as one of the leaders after I got to know him, and I admire him essentially just for his dedication and his commitment to grinds and stuff like that. He does have an extremely nice Ironman account, and he has gone dry on some very significant items, particularly now the homelit pet, but I just admire his dedication to the grind, and he just will not give up until achieves his goals, which is something I really admire, and I think I would love to take into myself my own play style. So alright, I'll talk a little bit about myself now. Like I said, my name's Logan. Right now I'm a fourth year university student. I'm just about to finish my fourth year of school at university. Currently I'm majoring in a communication studies program and minoring in business and French. And having two minors is a little bit weird, but essentially the reason why I chose to do that was because for the first year of my university, I actually was in engineering, and I finished my first year of engineering, and I did fine in all my courses, and I, went into the engineering year being absolutely certain in the direction that I wanted to kind of take my life, and it was really, really weird, really shocking getting halfway through the year, taking some engineering courses and that were very, very hands-on, and realizing, holy shit, this isn't at all kind of what I thought, and this isn't what I can see myself doing for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't have fun if I stuck with it. So I'm happy that I took the opportunity to kind of get out of that program, and even though I may have essentially wasted a year, I don't like to look at it as a waste, because I obviously learned a lot of things from it, and I think learning things that you don't like is just as valuable as finding out kind of what you do like for yourself, at least, and that's something I've taken away from it. So like I said, now I've moved actually quite far away from my family now to go to school. I joined my girlfriend at a school halfway across Canada. I'm Canadian, if you guys didn't know. So I kind of settled down at this new university that I'm at, and again I kind of joined my girlfriend over here, who I'd been dating for a couple years prior. I've been dating my girlfriend for 5 years now, and we're very happy together. So essentially, I'll comment a little bit on how that affected me. Coming over and essentially starting a new life in a completely different part of Canada, where the only person I knew was my girlfriend. It was actually quite a fun experience, to be honest. I'm kind of a big fan of the idea of kind of moving away and starting over, almost starting from scratch. I don't know. I've toyed with the idea a lot of going somewhere and kind of just sitting down and starting a new life, whether that be by myself or with my girlfriend or whatever. The idea just really appeals to me. I'll share with you guys as well. I've actually applied to a couple positions over time, of course, at Jagex, because essentially my passion for the game, for RuneScape, and for I consider myself a people person. I would love to do something as a career in terms of working with people, being in a position where I can communicate with different communities, with different clients, customers, co-workers, all that stuff. I don't think I would have as much fun, sitting by myself behind a desk, doing my own job. That doesn't really interest me. I'd like to be actively participating in a community in a way that kind of shows in how I play the game as well, where I did, like I said, run my own CC solo Hambios for years and years, and now I've joined quite a few extra and other clans basically now, and again I'll talk about those clans and groups, communities that I've joined recently as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so like I said, I've applied to Jagex in a couple different positions. I've received notes back from the couple positions that I've applied for, basically just saying kind of a blanket statement that most people do get. Essentially, they're not able to sponsor overseas or international applicants for their United Kingdom positions, unfortunately. And I understand that, of course. Um, but so I kind of have played with the idea in my head of um, obviously mostly if it was single because I'm kind of committed with some responsibilities and commitments here in Canada. But if I was single, I kind of always toy with the idea a little bit of dream of going over to Europe or to Cambridge in the UK, working for Jagex and being able to kind of do a bunch of traveling in Europe. I'm a huge fan of travel, and one of the things that I love about Europe is the ability to travel and travel cheaply. The thing about North America that I quite despise is um, when you travel, it's especially domestically in Canada, it's a nightmare to have to travel. I go home to the west coast of Canada once per year, and usually at Christmas, and it costs me around $1,000 to go back home, which is a lot of money for a plane ticket to stay for a little bit over a week or whatnot. So that's never fun. So it's not actually allowing or very kind to to the financial budget of a student to be able to travel. So like I said, that's one of the appeals of Europe. I would love to do more traveling at some point in the future. But so anyways, like I mentioned, the whole idea of starting over somewhere does really appeal to me. So it's kind of one of my like fantasies, but I don't think at the point in my life that I'll ever really get to experience that, unfortunately. But like I said, I'll look to continue to travel throughout the rest of my life, whether that be by myself or with my girlfriend from here on out. So I'll talk briefly about something I can see myself doing in the future. I kind of go through phases where I see myself doing different things in the future, different like career paths. And now I'm kind of hooked on the idea of doing some form of real estate or appraisal for real estate. And I understand now that the market for housing and real estate is quite high, and people are predicting an economic crash, especially of the real estate market in the future. So it may not be the best time to get into a real estate position like that. But kind of needless to say, the lifestyle itself kind of appeals to me, and dealing with all the application of how smart it is to get into that industry now is another topic that maybe I'll talk about some other time. But for now, just the lifestyle kind of appeals to me, where you're it's a very social position where you're able to kind of it's a very flexible job, but at the same time you need to be available for people to call you, to contact you, to be able to go see different properties, different pieces of real estate, whether it be commercial or residential. But the kind of lifestyle, that hustle and bustle, busy on your toes, but yet still having that flexibility, does really apply to me. So I've been looking at possibly getting some sort of internship for the summer, looking at maybe doing some sort of apprenticeship or assistant or bookkeeping or something for either a real estate agency or an agent themselves, independently, or like I said, with a company. So I will continue to look at that, and then that's the plan for this summer. So yeah, we'll kind of see where it goes from there. While I'm at school, usually during the winter and stuff, I work 2 part-time jobs. One being a ice hockey referee, typical Canadian thing. And I love doing that. It's something I've done for I believe 12 years now. I grew up playing hockey, so it's kind of a big part of my life. And the other thing that I do for my other part-time job is I'm a sports advisor at a sporting retailer, so sporting goods store. Again, kind of has to do with people, a little bit of customer service involved in there, and I really don't mind that. it's something that I appreciate helping people, but at the same time, it's not exactly dealing with people's problems, if you know what I mean. One thing I've kind of noticed speaking with people who are involved in certain aspects of customer service, when you have to deal with people's problems, it's absolutely horrible. Dealing with people who have to return things, or people who are in like shitty social situations, it can be a nightmare because the people you're dealing with are some of the worst, to be honest. Um, but when you're dealing with people who might require a little bit of help, or you're trying to benefit them in a certain way, like in my sporting goods job, I'm helping kids and families find sporting equipment that's applicable for their little boy to play hockey, for example, or finding a couple, a set of a sporting outfit to go running, or something like that. That's something really that I enjoy, and possibly see myself doing, like I said, something similar in the future, but obviously to a higher extent. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's pretty much what I've been up to, more or less. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my account right now. It's been a long time since I've done any sort of really public thing, at least on YouTube. So one of the things I guess I'm quite active on nowadays is my Twitter. I'll have my Twitter down in the description, at Loug. Quite active on there. I usually make a couple posts a day, whether that's replying to people's things, or posting achievements that happen on my accounts. So yeah, no, that's where you can usually follow me to keep updated for the most part. So just speaking about my account, if you look at my inventory, I have quite a few different things here that you can see. One being my stats. So I've come a long ways since last I posted on YouTube, since I was making a couple progress series. I'm almost max. I have 5 levels to go to max, 2 rune crafting and 3 prayer levels. I've actually been this close away for a while, and you probably noticed in the background I'm thieving. I hope that it's not too loud as I'm pressing my 3 key, which is bound, if you guys are curious. I just use a simple AHK script to rebind my 3 key to left click mouse. It's very legal. Jagex has said you're not allowed to use AHK for one-to-one movements or higher. You're only allowed to use AHK for remapping. So that's essentially what I've done to do that. So yeah, as you can see, very, very close to max. I'm planning to do that probably in hopefully the next 2 weeks or so. I'll most likely be talking. I'll talk a little bit about the RD Nights later, why I'm doing that. But for the most part, yeah. So like I said, I'm 5 levels away from max. My plan for rune crafting at the moment is to do pretty much mostly lavas, but mixed in with some bloods as well to do a little bit of AFK whenever I need that. Bloods are very, very nice, like I said, for the AFK, but also they should be useful quite a bit for both Slayer barraging, whenever I need to barrage at God War's Dungeon, at Arma or Bandos or Zami. And the other thing is for raids too. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on in this, but there is a couple things in raids 2 that are going to need quite a few amount of blood runes, so it's never going to be too bad to have those. So I'll go back to my inventory here. Probably the first thing that catches your guys' eye is the Infernal Cape. So right here, I'll wear that. It's beautiful. I'm super happy with it. I actually got that Infernal Cape, I believe, on March 1st, or or sometime in February, actually, I believe. I think it was in early February. But regardless, I probably went for that for quite a long time. I've been doing a couple attempts here and there ever since release, and it's been a struggle, actually. I'm quite happy I got it done. It was, if you guys want an estimate, essentially, of how long it took me, I'm estimating it took me around 60 to 65 attempts total, and that goes all the way back to the release of the Inferno when I was doing it on stream, off stream when I was not really knowing exactly how it worked and what to do, but still trying it nonetheless. And that includes all the dying at really, really low waves because of stupid mistakes and stuff. So probably, like I said, 60 to 65 attempts. It took me only 5 total Zuck attempts, and one of those attempts was essentially an instant disconnect on Zuck. So I finished the triple Jad wave, and I went to start the Zuck wave, and as soon as the little animation for Zuck came out, I actually bumped my computer, my laptop, and kicked out the Ethernet cord, and it shut off my internet and I disconnected. So that was really shitty. Obviously it's my fault, but yeah, that was a waste of a Zuck attempt. So without that, it only took me 4 Zucks. I was actually really lucky with my cape and my overall attempts. I think in the amount of in the 4 Zucks that I did, I think I tanked something like 7 or 8 hits total, like Zuck hits, which was obviously ridiculously lucky. The chance to survive a Zuck hit is like 40% or something like that, and I survived 7 of them in like 4 attempts. The cape that I got, the run that I got my cape rather, I actually did tank 2 attempts, tank 2 hits from Zuck. I'm not happy about that at all. In the future I'll be doing more once I get the Jad pet, so I'll be, every Jad task that I get, I'll be doing Jad, the normal Jad, for the pet, and as soon as I get the pet, I'll be doing most of my tasks, if not all, at Zuck. I'm just looking to get better, maybe hunt the Nibbler pet, we'll see. But yeah, so obviously looking to improve there, which would be awesome. So one of the other things is raids. So you can see down at the bottom of my inventory here, I have 8 uniques here, as well as the 2 prayers, Rigger and Augury, sorry. So 10 total uniques, the Twisted Bow and Kodai from the Mega Rare table, only missing the Elder Maul there. I have the Claws and the Ancestral Robe Bottom, only missing the Ancestral Top, Ancestral Hat, and the Din's Bulwark from that table. I have both the items from the next table, which is the Twisted Buckler and the Dragon Hunter Crossbow, and then I'm only missing the Harpoon from the Troll item table, which is all the Dragon items. So I just need the Harpoon there. So I'm 10 out of 15 for raids. I'm just under 1,000 KC, I believe 975 last night when I did a couple raids. So I'll be looking to pretty much do that for a while here. And the last thing that I have in my inventory here is the jars. So you can see I have the Jar of Sand, the Jar of Dirt, the Jar of Miasma, Jar of Souls, Jar of Decay, and the very, very infamous Jar of Darkness. So you might kind of be wondering, well, why is that really significant? Mostly, to be honest, it's due to the Jar of Darkness. But there's only 8 jars in the game, and I happen to have 6 of them, including the rarest one to get, or the one which is essentially almost impossible to get on a single account. There's no way you can actively go for it, considering that the current Slayer meta takes you over 600 mil XP on average to get one of the jars. So getting that, I believe at 24 kill count for my account, was insanely lucky, and now The reason I'm collecting them is essentially I have a very, very, very good chance at being the first Ironman to obtain all jars in the game. So the only jars that I have left are the Zulrah jar, which is the Jar of Swamp. That I'm quite happy to go get, no problem. Zulrah is very beneficial, obviously, on an Ironman anyways. So even more motivation to do it, essentially. Still need the pet, still need the mutagens there, and the scales, obviously. The other thing, a little bit more demotivating, is the 1 in 5k Jar of Stone, and that is from the Grotesque Guardians. I have like just under 400 KC at them, I believe. And the thing that sucks about it is it's quite a slow boss. It's 20 or just under 20 kills per hour, which isn't, I guess, the most slow thing, but it's very repetitive. And it's just a long task. I have gargoyles extended right now, so I get 200 to 250 gargoyles every task, and it's a little bit of a hassle to do all those. It takes quite a while, so I'll be actively going for those over the next little while. So I'm going to segue that into talking a little bit about my goals now. So essentially, one of the things that's going to come out in summer is Raids 2. Now I'm going to talk about that more later in this ramble, but for now there's a couple things that I want to actively go for before Raids 2, and those things are mainly the Ancestral Top and the Ancestral Hat, which completes my Raids Ancestral set. So if I can get those two things, I'll be more than happy from Raids. After that, I'll only be missing the Elder Maul, the Din's Bulwark, and the Harpoon, which are all, you know, nice items to have, but they're not super useful. And rest assured, I'll obviously go back for them, of course, but it won't be as pressing of a matter compared to the two ancestral pieces that I'm currently missing. So those are pretty high on my priority list for the two things. Now, if I can get those two things before Raids, what I'll go for is probably stock up on a ton of Zulrah scales. Blowpipe is kind of one of those things that's essentially useful almost everywhere. You can probably count that it'll have some use at least for Raids 2. So I'm probably looking at getting a couple thousand more Zulrah KC. I'm at like 2.6, 2.7k right now. Probably looking to get it around 5k to 6k, ideally, before Raids 2, if I have time, of course, if I get those two ancestral pieces. Other than that, I'm kind of actively just going for most of the PVM items. So one of the things that I'm going to go for, alongside the jars pretty much, because obviously the gargoyles I need to hunt on task for the last jar. So I'll be doing some Slayer actively, going for things like the Imbued Heart, the Slayer Gem. Those are the two superior drops I'm missing. Very rare, obviously, so I'll probably have to do quite a bit of Slayer for those. And essentially just general Slayer. I'd love to get 30 mil Slayer by the end of 2018. I think that's a reasonable goal. Obviously doing some boss tasks, a couple things there. So a nice XP goal for that one. Now, one of the other things is I would love to go for rank 1 Zami KC. I think currently the rank 1 Zami KC is Aloe. He's been 2300 KC for a long time, and I don't think anyone's passed him yet. I could be wrong. Mod Lottie, the data analyst, is due to release another kill count update, probably pretty soon in the next month or so. Hopefully, we'll be looking out for that, so I can kind of give an update on where I stand again. The last two updates, I've been rank 3 and rank 4 Zami KC at around 1700. I'm now about 1900 Zami KC, so with tasks, I'll probably continue to go back there here and there for fun and get the Zami KC up there. I'm only missing the pet. The reason I did go so dry on those two things was because I took so damn long to get my Staff of the Dead and my Zamorak Hilt. Staff of the Dead, if you guys don't know, was on 1719 KC, and the hilt was on 1765 kc, so it took me a long time to get both of those things. And obviously the last thing for in terms of my goals there is the jars. Kind of a main priority. It would be very, very cool to be the first Ironman to all jars, so I'll continue to work actively for that, and get my Zora Casey up there and get my Slayer going, and get the Gargoyle Casey up there too to pursue the jars. Now, one thing I've kind of been toying around in my head with recently is the idea of going for a little bit of XP. I've never really been a skiller, and I don't think I will ever. But I've always been, and especially more recently, happy with the idea of looking at kind of my overall XP, and that's one of the reasons why I'm actually doing thieving right now. You can see in the top corner, I'm at 476 mil XP, and I'm quite proud of that. I've never really had an account that's been close to that, so I consider that quite an achievement. But one of the things, like I said, I've been kind of toying around in my head, and just an idea of the possibility of me going for some really high XP. Now, this isn't kind of saying that I'm gonna do any skilling for EHP, stuff like that, like doing skills like agility or room crafting, aiming for EHP. I don't really enjoy room crafting. That's kind of why I've left it to one of the last skills there. But I'll obviously knock that out soon. But I'm kind of more saying that I'm looking and interested in going for some of the fast skills like thieving, like Winter Todd, doing fire making. Winter Todd's like 320k an hour, something like that. Thieving is 250k an hour, with the RD Knights right here, and maybe even Hunter as well. And that's quite fast, doing chins or doing herbivore as well. So essentially going for like a high XP goal pretty much, and I can kind of almost double that with saying I can almost go for pets in some of these things. For example, like the Winter Todd fire making, I don't have the Phoenix pet from Winter Todd, so I can kind of almost make an excuse or motivate myself to go for the pet by getting the high XP, right? So I wouldn't mind going 100 mil XP in fire making dry of the Phoenix pet, because that would get me quite a lot higher XP. I know my goal for getting this high XP, again, just kind of toying around with it in my head, but I think it would be really, really cool to get a top page spot on the Ironman high scores. Now, I am nowhere near one of the most efficient Ironmen, nor do I deserve to be on the top page, because I'm not a skiller. But like I said, it really motivates me to get the total XP. I've been doing a couple Nightmare Zone every once in a while as well, working on a little bit of defense, just in my time that I needed to AFK and stuff like that. Now, I know defense is kind of one of those things where you can train by chinning or barraging on defense during Slayer tasks and stuff, so most likely I'll switch over to do like attack or strength sometime in the near future, but for now I'm just going to keep training defense. But all these things kind of add up to a lot of total XP kind of things, and that's kind of what appeals to me, going for a high XP on the Ironman. So who knows, maybe I'll go for a couple of, like I said, the fast XP pets and whatnot, and get the XP up there and go for a top page Ironman spot. So yeah, we'll see. I am kind of known to change my goals here and there, but that's kind of what I'm focusing on nowadays. So I had a couple topics that I just want to touch on quickly too. One being RD Knights. So like I said, I've pretty much been doing this in the background the whole video, and I hope it's not too loud again. But so there's a nerf coming for the RD Knights. They've been wanting to essentially make it a lot less AFK. Like I've been doing here. I'm just sitting here pressing my 3 key. I don't need to move. I don't need to do anything. I just sit here and I press my 3 key, or click my mouse or do whatever. So what they're looking at proposing, or looking at implementing, is essentially putting some sort of coin purse or something that is in your inventory that essentially makes you only be able to thieve a limited amount of times before you have to stop and like exchange the coin purses, or like right click open the coin purses, or something like that. Now I'm pretty sure it's part of the integrity poll, so they won't be polling it at all. It's due to happen sometime soon. Could happen tomorrow. I'm recording this on Wednesday the 18th of April, and tomorrow's Thursday, so it's update day, so you never know. People, as you can see, everyone's kind of here trying to abuse the knights while we can, and that's essentially what I'm doing as well. I'm at 22 mil, 22.3 mil thieving XP right now. I do have the pet. I got that at 96 thieving, so it does feel like a little bit of waste here, but the reason I'm valuing the thieving XP right now over doing anything including maxing, which is kind of what some people have been on my ass about recently, is essentially just for how easy it is. Like, it's free XP to me. I'm sitting here clicking, and it's free XP to me. That's literally what it is. The effort that I need to put in is just so low, so I don't mind saving my effort, if you would, for other skills or other content once thieving gets, or once the RD Knights get nerfed. So yeah, for now I'm gonna abuse them while I can, and once they get nerfed, I'll continue to go for max, and probably max within 2 weeks after I start going back to that. So I don't know if I mentioned, but for my prayer, I do have most of it banked. I'm only missing about 1.21 mil, something like that, prayer XP, and I'll probably do that through a little mix of DKs, because with the Noted Bones off task, as well as Vorkath off task as well, just for the fact that those two are just insanely beneficial for the other drops you get, mostly Vorkath, the coins you make, as well as the crafting XP and other prayer XP that you get banked, so quite good there. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is Raids 2. Raids 2 coming up. I'm very excited for these, kind of why I set myself some goals here to do before Raids 2 happens. One of the things I really like about Raids 2 is the fact that it's new content. That's essentially my favorite thing about it. It's a sequel to one of the most fun things that has been released in RuneScape, and that's Raids. It's a little different in terms of the fact that it's a static room, so you have the same layout that you progress through time in and time out, again and again, which may cause some problems. We'll see about that as it gets closer. I don't think we're really expecting it until well, for a while at least. I don't think we're really expecting it until sometime deep into summer this year. But like I said, it's new content. I can't wait to just hop in the team of 5 people, which I believe is the max. Couple of my friends and stuff like that, and just grind it, on release. I think it'll be so fun, honestly. It's doing things on release like that. Speaking from experience, I did Raids 1 on release, I did Dragon Slayer 2 on release, Monkey Madness 2 on release as well. Doing stuff on release is just so fun, figuring out the methods for yourself, figuring out mechanics, with other people, being able to share ideas and stuff you have about the mechanics, where everyone's kind of in the same boat, right? No one knows more than someone else. You're all fresh newbies, essentially, not knowing what's really going on in the raids, and that's what I love most about it. A couple other things though, the raids rewards, I guess the 2 most notable things are the rapier that they're proposing, or that's passed actually now, which is essentially going to be a small buff to Slayer. It's going to be slightly better than the Kraken Whip. In terms of the Kraken Whip, doesn't have a aggressive option on it. So if I say I equip the Dragon Sword, so this here has an aggressive option. Now it gives an invisible strength boost, invisible 3 strength boost, whereas the Kraken Whip doesn't have that as a controlled, which gives an invisible +1 to your attack, +1 to your strength, +1 to your defense. So that's where the +1 max hit comes in from the rapier over the tent whip. And the other thing is it's non-degradable. It's a stab weapon too, so it could be used in a couple different places, but the most notable thing is it's not degradable. Now, in old school, you can't really use a Kraken Whip and Slayer. It's not exactly viable, it's just too damn expensive. But with the rapier, you're going to be able to use it for Slayer to your heart's content, pretty much, because it won't degrade. So if we'd be able to get that on the Ironman, holy shit, that would be amazing. The other thing is the scythe. Now they've been kind of a lot of ups and downs with this scythe. It was kind of proposed as really shit content, and then they buffed it to where it can hit large monsters, I think 3x3 monsters, up to 3 times, which essentially made it actually better DPS on a monster than dragon darts in a blowpipe, which is huge if you know anything about the blowpipe. So I'll leave it at that. I won't really go into too much about it, but so those are basically the 2 main rewards. A couple other things from it coming, some new potions, new Sanguesi staff, which is essentially kind of a Guthans in the staff almost. That requires blood runes to use, which is going to be very expensive, but kind of a passive healing type thing. So that will be decent, but I guess we'll kind of see. They're looking at possibly pulling a couple more awards or whatnot, so we'll see where it comes. But basically, long story short, I'm very, very excited for Raids 2 and the content it'll bring. So catch me at Raids 2 release. So one of the things that kind of changes in my RuneScape life over the past couple months, even past year or so, is the fact that I've kind of gotten a little bit more serious about the game. Like, as you can tell with my goals, my XP goals, and my item goals and stuff, I've gotten a little bit more competitive in the game, and that's kind of reflected in my gameplay style, and as well in my, I guess the people in the communities that I've associated with myself, or associated myself with, sorry. So now, as you can kind of see, I'm in a CC called Solitary PVM. It's a high-level Ironman clan. You can find them on Twitter at solitary_PVM. You can see the requirements to join the clan there. So that's essentially my main clan that I'm a part of. There's an amazing group of people in here. Essentially, they've come from all sorts of different Ironman communities across RuneScape, really, and kind of all joined here. Some of the top PVMers and stuff in the Ironman communities all kind of joined into one place, and it's kind of united a lot of people who previously knew about each other but didn't really know each other on a personal level, which is really, really cool. And that's kind of something that ties into my I don't know, my beliefs and something that makes me quite happy. You know, like I said, the social aspect and the community aspect is something I'm really, really into. I want to talk a little bit about Hambios, the CC that I ran for a couple of years back. So basically, joining Solitary was kind of, I don't want to say the end of an era, but it was a change going from Solitary, or going from solo Hambios to Solitary. And I feel bad because I did it in kind of a direct way. Me and a couple of the other leaders, we kind of just left and didn't really say anything, I guess, to some of the other people in solo Hambios. And as leaders, that's probably not the best thing to do for a CC. And I apologize to anybody who's watching the video who I personally affected with that with. But I think essentially what the plan is from here is I really want to try and keep in contact with everyone from Solo Hambios. Some of you who've reached out to me personally, I really appreciate it. I will never ever forget the times that we had in Solo Hambios and all the people there. We had such a great community, which is a little sad, like I said, that it's coming kind of to the end of an era almost. So I really would like to keep in contact with anybody who is in those Solo Hambios CC and stuff like that. So like I said, if you're watching this, people from Solo Hambios or whatnot, please don't hesitate to send me, myself, or Sim, or some of the other leaders that you've known through the last couple of years or whatnot. Send us a PM. Don't worry about that. But so yeah, like I said, keeping in contact is kind of one of the things I'm looking to strive for. But other than that, like I said, my goals have kind of shifted, and I'm looking to essentially step down as a leader of Solo Hambios and kind of almost I don't want to close it off. I'll say that I'm branching off. That I'll be mostly attending the solitary clan chats, events, stuff like that. One of the things that I'm looking for Hambios at least is to keep the Discord open for the majority of people who are in the clan. The Discord is quite active and still is actually. People posting in there a couple times a day, their achievements and whatnot. I do the same. I'm more than happy to keep that active. Like I said, it's a way of keeping in contact from the people, in contact with the people rather who are part of that community, and I love that for sure. So I'm gonna keep that open definitely. So like I said, essentially just a TLDR for Hambios. Apologies again that it was kind of such a sudden change and that the leaders kind of left. But like I said, our goals and play styles have just shifted a little bit, and so it's essentially the end of an era. But like I said, please do not hesitate to contact myself or the other leaders and keep in contact. So one of the other clans that I joined for a little while was Erudite. Erudite is kind of the longest standing Ironman clan for a while. Now it's basically primarily skilling based. It's a very skilling heavy clan, and that's what kind of they're oriented around. But for the longest time before Solitary was created, that was kind of the only place to go for any sort of Ironman community or high level Ironman community. And since Solitary was created, there's been a couple people from there who've migrated to Solitary, in addition to other communities, like I said, all coming together in Solitary, which has kind of divided the Ironman community in a way, but in my opinion, it's in a good way because it's divided in coordination with people's interests. Like I said, the Ironmen who are interested in skilling and going for XP and stuff like that generally are in Erudite, which is fantastic. Erudite's a great clan for that, and people in Solitary can explore their PVM nature and those goals that they have associated with that. During my time that I was in Erudite, I'm kind of sad that I didn't really get a chance to actually I guess participate in the clan as much as I'd like to, or would have liked to. I didn't really have an opportunity. Maybe that was my fault. Didn't really get to know many of the people in there. Some of the big names like Higer or Tyler, things like that. Are some of those people, Vati as well. People that I just would have liked to get to know a little bit more. Maybe on a personal level or speak with them on Discord. Essentially, most of the people just in Erudite, but I don't know. I felt like I kind of didn't make enough effort maybe on my part, or didn't have the opportunity to find people, and speak with them as well on the in the Erudite Discord. So that's something kind of I wish I would have done more for there. But like I said, I did enjoy my time in Erudite, and I wish them all the best as well. The people there are quite nice and accepting. So yeah. One of the other things, let's type a grass to Birdo on his creep hat. So one of the other things that I've started to get into recently too is completionist a little bit. I know in my Twitter bio, I'm essentially calling myself an Ironman completionist, and with all the item hunting, some pet hunting and stuff like that, it's essentially kind of what I'm going for. But one of the other clans that I've joined recently is Totus. Totus is a completionist clan, a secondary clan, which is kind of, you're supposed to join it in coordination with the with your main clan, so you can I can kind of be in solitary as well as Totus at the same time, just to kind of have those complement each other almost. But one of the things about Totus is, like I said, it's all about completion, and there's a lot of, they have a task list. There's a lot of tasks on there that are very, very menial and tedious tasks that involve quite a lot of grinding, but it's all about completion. It's all about collecting different sort of things. So one of the things that I went for recently is the taxidermy, which is the heads. For example, the cockatrice head, the abyssal demon head, the KBD head, the Karask head, the basilisk head, and then the big fish, so swordfish, bass, and the big shark, I believe. And the only thing I'm missing from those is the big shark, which is 50 hours on the drop rate for sharks, and you have to bare hand fish those. Obviously, you can't do minnows for those, so it's quite a long time for that coming. So I've just found quite a lot of enjoyment in kind of working with a completionist mindset, going for essentially everything that's available to be completed. This is really annoying, people who have random events. But yeah, like I said, going just with the mindset of completing the game essentially, and not really in a XP way of going for all 200 mils or something. And we'll see. Like I said, my mindset does change fairly often. So I'm not going to rule out anything in the future, but for now, I'm more than happy to play with a completionist mindset, work alongside Totus in solitary, to go for all PBM items and some other kind of completionist items in terms of the cool completionist untradeable items around the game. So yeah, so that's something that's quite interesting to me. And now the last clan I'll just speak about too is almost a little bit of a social clan that I've joined or found recently, which is called Scaryvore. I've kind of been actively participating in the Discord there. In some skill of the weeks, I've met a couple of cool people through there. Some people with some really good mindsets that have kind of helped motivate me in certain ways and maybe push me in certain directions. For example, the XP and the skilling and stuff. I really admire some of the people's mindsets in there. So yeah. Anyways, I recently did a podcast with Scaryvore. And it turned out really, really well, except for a couple audio issues. So I will link that podcast down in the description as well. If you guys want to go look at that, I will do that. So anyways, I don't really think there's much else to talk about. I think I've hit all the points that I wanted to for this video. So I think I'm gonna end it off here. Like I said, I'll leave a couple links down in the description there of people, couple of different Ramble videos, Parker's as well as Fatty's, the people who, like I said, have motivated me and kind of introduced me to the Ramble videos. As well as I'll also link the podcast from Scarybore that I appeared in last week. In addition to that, I'll link my Twitter in the bio. Like I said, if you can feel free to follow me on there. I'm most active on there, and you can feel free to follow me from there. So, yeah. Other than that, guys, I will, like I said, be seeing you guys later, hopefully in a couple more randoms. Sorry. Everyone's talking about randoms. But in another Ramble video is what I meant to say. And hopefully look at doing more of these in the future. So, yeah, thanks again for watching, guys, and talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.